Once there was a lady who grew up in a family with such amazing tradition and values. And one year she decided that she wanted to carry on the tradition of Thanksgiving that had been in her family her whole life. And so what she did is one year she followed her mom around the kitchen to see what all took place, what happened in the time of preparation for Thanksgiving, and she noticed something. Her mom had always cooked this juicy brisket for Thanksgiving, and she noticed that right before her mom put it in the oven, she cut off the end of the brisket. And this got her to questioning, and so she asked her mom, "Mom, why do you cut off the end of the brisket?" And her mom said, "Well, I just do that because that's what my mom always did. So why don't we ask her?" So the whole family gathers around and the questions continue. The first one asks her mom, "Why did you cut this off? Why do you cut that end off of the brisket?" And he says, she says, "That's what my mom always did." And then so that one, her mom was there and said, "Well, Grandma, why do you cut off the end of the brisket?" She said, "Well, that's what my mom always did." And so even the great grandma was there and they asked her, "Great grandma, why do you cut the end off the brisket?" She said, "Well, I just did that because the pan that I had at the time wasn't big enough to hold the entire brisket." It's funny because this tradition was passed down all because of something silly, but it does speak to something that is very true. See, the reality is so much stuff is passed on from generation to generation. The people coming behind us are seeing what we're doing. And they're going to be a part of what we're doing. They're watching us. They're seeing the way that we interact with people. They're seeing the different things that we do. And they're picking up on these values and carrying them as well. And so with this, we have a challenge. We have something that we must understand. That the next generation is our responsibility. It is our responsibility to pass on the great values that we have, the teachings that we have, and the relationship of God that we have. Because if we do not pass this on, they will pick up other stuff from us. And in this case, the things that we value most will not be passed down. And so in the book of Exodus, we see this take place. Yes, it's true that things are passed on from generation to generation, but what's also true is that it only takes one generation for something to not be passed down. See, Joseph had done incredible things. He had got the Israelites to a place where they could have all of this stuff, got their name big in the land of Egypt, and he had become famous in the land of Egypt. But at the end of his life, we notice something significant. Let's read the scripture now together. Exodus 1, 6 through 8. Then Joseph died, and all his brothers and all that generation. But the people of Israel were fruitful and increased greatly. They multiplied and grew increasingly strong, so that the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. This verse is very interesting to me because we just talked about how things are passed on from generation to generation to generation. But I also see in this that it only takes one generation for something to die. It just takes one person or one generation to not carry on the torch that is passed to them. We see it in Joseph's story. He had got Israel to a great place in the land of Egypt, and he had done amazing things for the land of Egypt. But this new Pharaoh comes and doesn't know Joseph and doesn't know the things that he's done. And because of this, it ends up getting the Israelites in slavery in the land of Egypt. See, Joseph did all of these great things, but in one generation, it was all done away with. And this should be a challenge to us. Yes, there are things that are passed down. Yes, the generation under us is watching what we do. But it's not just an automatic thing that's going to happen. See, we as this generation, we have to take it as a responsibility to pass it on intentionally to the next generation. Because even though the generation under us is picking things up that we're doing and picking things up in our values and all of this stuff, we have to be intentional in passing those things on. They will absorb some stuff that we have, but we have to be intentional in passing that on, because it only takes one generation for the things that we value to die. And so this should challenge us. What are we passing on to the next generation? What are we failing to pass on to the next generation? Not just what are we passing on to the next generation, but what are we passing on to the people around us? What torch are we passing to those around us? What are we failing to pass? And so we should ask ourselves what crowns we're trying to hoard. We should ask ourselves what our goals are in this life. I said it before and I'll say it again. If your vision dies with you, it wasn't vision, it was pride. So I want to challenge you this week to pay attention to what it is you are passing on to the next generation. Challenge you to look and see how the next generation sees you. What are they picking up in your life? What are they valuing? And as we do this, we can have vision that's not going to die when we die, but we can have vision that moves forward whenever we're gone, because it didn't die with us. One generation can carry the torch of what you have, or it can die with you if we fail to pass it on. Let's talk about these things now in our family discussion question.